Let's look at our HTML one more time. We have covered how to do some arithmetic operations. The next part that we would like to do or understand about is about how to do some statements, the different kind of statements. So let's go to our JavaScript. So I'm gonna do some comments here saying JavaScript statements, the type of statements that we have. So we have a if statement, for loop, while loop, switch statement, so if statement and this switch statement are going to be conditional, and then loops are also conditional, but then they are a little bit different. That you have the for loop and the while loop, and then I think there is a do while loop. So conditional statements, so you have the if statement and switch statements. Those are the two conditional statements. And then you have the loops here. And we also have to talk about the break. So let's talk about break. So let's begin by looking at this particular button here. We are saying here Charlie is 162 inches tall, John is 135 inches tall, who is taller? And we want to do this programmatically. So then there is a button here. Let us say this button is going to say on click, compare. That's going to be our function name. I'm not sure if I've mentioned this before, but make sure that your function names are unique. You don't want to have two functions with the same name. Then you're going to get into trouble. So if you want similar names, you can say compare 1, compare 2, and so on and so forth, but keep those names unique. A compare and this are going to be totally different because JavaScript is case sensitive. So make sure that your function call and your function names in the definition are similar. Okay, so we have Charlie. Charlie is 165. John is 135. I think Charlie is 162. Okay, John is 135. We want to know who's taller. So we would just say compare John and Charlie, which would be if 162 is greater than 135. In our mind, that's what we do. We do an if statement. We say if Charlie is 162, John is 135, right? So we say if 162 is greater than 135, then Charlie is taller. So that's what we would think. If, and then the condition goes here, else, and then the condition goes here. If what? If Charlie is greater than John. So these are two variables. If Charlie is greater than John, then we would alert Charlie is taller. Else, if Charlie is the same height as John. Okay, this is called a comparison. So it's not a single equal to. A single equal to, this is assignment, this is comparison. A double equal to is comparison. A single equal to is assignment. Okay, just something to remember. Okay, single equal to is assignment, double equal to is comparison. If you put the assignment here, John will be assigned to Charlie, which is not what we want. So this is an if, and you can have else if. You can keep on adding else ifs, but it has to end with the else. Finally, what happens? If all else fails, what happens? So if Charlie is greater than John, then Charlie is taller. If Charlie is equal to John, then alert, Charlie and John are of the same height. Otherwise, John is taller. Okay. So this is what we call as conditional statements. So remember, you can have like multiple conditions as long as they are within these little rounded brackets, then you're okay. So you can keep adding conditions, and we will look into that later. Let's test this out. Like I said before, just make sure that your code is reflected here. You refresh the page and make sure your code shows up here. Okay, all my code changes are here. I'm going to put a breakpoint at 64. Let's click on this button. Okay, I get a breakpoint. Is Charlie greater than John? If it is true, which we know it is, it's going to alert saying Charlie is taller. What if we make this 120? John's taller. Let's try that one more time. We come through here. Because it fails, it doesn't go into any of these statements. Okay, I have put it in every single statement to see which one it goes through. So I click on this button. So it says Charlie is 120. It never went into any of these two statements. It directly comes here because all other if statements fail. John's taller. Okay, now let's make them both 120. Charlie and Jar are of the same height. So that's what an if condition does. So the key thing to remember is your if should consider all the different scenarios. If I didn't say that, if I don't have this, and I just said else John's taller, that is really not true because we are not thinking about the situation where they could be of the same height. And that comes to the, the thought process of the developer. It is as the programmer our job to make sure that we understand all the different possibilities with our use case. Any data you think about, you have to think about all the different scenarios and then make sure you code for all the scenarios so that you're not getting a bug in your code.